It has been a stressful past month, friends. This straw is just one of the things of many that we needed to get before cold weather came. Here's a patch of garlic we got planted last week as part of an ag project in our homeschool. I'm taking these sprouted wheat berries to our chickens today. I'm thinking they're gonna love them.
Red and yellow, soon they'll be falling down. Now,
check it out.
I'm not ready,
I'm just gonna leave it.
not just yet. I'm not ready for autumn. Autumn comes too soon. Autumn comes too soon. The light that flickers will blow away the sight, and all that blossomed will wither away and die. Not now, I'm not ready, not just yet. I'm not ready for autumn. Autumn comes too soon. I'm not ready for autumn. Autumn comes too soon.
But hey.
Autumn comes too soon.
It's loose. It has to be loose.
Autumn comes too soon.
It's a busy day on the homestead here today. So today we harvested all of our potatoes. We had 2 patches of potatoes, and we are just kind of getting the garden ready because we figure we probably only have about 5 weeks left to get the garden ready for next year. And if we wait much longer than 5 to 6 weeks, we probably are going to miss our opportunity to even get it ready for next year because it's going to start freezing. Want to get things prepared before it's too late. We have so much to do before it gets cold here, you guys. We still have siding we want to get on the house. We have the gardens to prepare. There's just so much. It is a holiday weekend, so everybody has a little bit of time off of school right now and work. Anyways, we've been here in the chicken coop, as you can see, and we've been getting our egg layers, nests ready because we're going to be getting eggs from our chickens any day, you guys. Our chickens turn 18 weeks tomorrow. The Australorps could have started laying 2 weeks ago. The rest of the chickens should start laying around now, except for the Delawares. The Delawares probably won't lay until next year. So we had gold buff Orpingtons, we have silver and gold laced Windots, we have Delawares, Australorps, and Rhode Island Reds. A lot of these beds are old and dilapidated. They're kind of falling apart. We also decided that we don't want beds. We think we can grow more without them and get more produce from the garden without them. So we're going to do away with most of the beds in the garden. So the little children don't know this yet, but there's one egg. I just went down and one of our gold buff Orpingtons laid her first egg, and this is our first egg.
There's an egg!
Get it! Go get it!
Hold it. Let me hold it.
Everybody gets to hold it.
I was taking care of the chicken.
Today is a huge day here. We are getting ready to take these cabinets out. We have new cabinets finally, and we're going to take these out. We have cabinets for over here. We have cabinets for here. I'm really excited about this section here because we have a Lazy Susan that's going to be in the corner, so I'm going to have more storage space in the kitchen. Look at the difference between how clean these jars. I don't know if you can tell. Yeah, you can tell there. These ones came out perfectly clean. So these ones I remembered to put the vinegar in when I was canning. In the canning water, if you put vinegar in your canning water, your jars come out perfectly clean and you don't have to wash them. But if you forget or if you don't put the vinegar in, this is how they look, and they have like a calcification over them, and you have to wash the jars if you want them to be pretty and shiny. If you don't wash them, they collect dust faster, it seems like, too. Super excited about these shelves because I didn't want something overwhelming in the corners, but I did want to display some of my home preserved and home canned goods. Part of the reason I wanted to have a few of them on display in my kitchen is so that I could remember what I have downstairs in the cellar. I've been waiting for these shelves to go up for over a month now. I think I had these brackets sitting out. You might have even seen them in some of my previous videos, just sitting on the counter. I've had them out ready, waiting for over a month now, probably closer to 2 months. So I'm really excited to finally have these shelves up. I think they turned out really pretty. It is actually very slowly coming together. It's going to be another 5 weeks before we have a countertop, though. When my husband mentioned renting this skid steer and everything that he was planning to do, I had no idea how extravagant his vision was. I've never really lived somewhere that had nice landscaping, I don't think. Maybe when I was in my early 20s, I did for a little while. When we were living in town, we had nice landscaping. At that house, when my husband mentioned the skid steer, I'm like, okay, I don't see how we need that right now. But I guess I had no idea what he was planning. This is just, wow, I did not expect to have a landscaped piece of property anytime soon. So he's leveling everything out right now. It was not level at all. Quite honestly, it didn't even bother me that it wasn't level. It didn't bother me that the way it was before. But now that I see what he was seeing, I am like astounded. I think this is amazing. I'm so glad that he did this now. He's gonna make us a nice big circle drive all the way around the house, which I'm thrilled about. This little wooded area, my kids call it Area 21. He's gonna, I guess, even out a spot in here for us to do our yearly chicken butcherings and also have picnics. Here's Area 21 from afar. It'll be a perfect place for picnics. I'm very excited now because this is going to be beautiful, and he wants to put an outdoor wood burning stove down here that we can do our fired pizzas in. He's got a whole plan. Look at him out there. There are a lot of really big rocks on our property, So we didn't have to haul any of these rocks in. They're all here. He's got one in the bucket right now. Guys, I'm putting my apron on and I'm getting ready to start all the afternoon homestead activities. So welcome to an afternoon in the life of a homesteader. I just finished the daily lessons with the kids for today. It's that time of the day, it's after 3 o'clock, everybody needs to go out and start running around and stuff, so while they're doing that, I'm going to do some canning. I need to can some chicken soup. We just made one of our last harvests from the garden. We do not have many more harvest days coming up, but today we harvested some carrots. Our garden did not do very well this year because we had water issues. We have a low producing well and we need to come up with a solution before next summer because we couldn't quite get enough water to water the garden in order to get a very big harvest this year. So hopefully that's something we can remedy for next year. But I do have some carrots and I'm going to put them into the chicken soup that I'm getting ready to make. And of course the chicken is going to be with chickens that we raised and butchered. I've been making chicken broth for about 4 days. So all of the chicken broth is going to be from scratch. I like to make a long simmer chicken broth where I simmer it, put it in the fridge overnight, next day simmer it again, put it in the fridge overnight again, and what that does is after a couple days of that, it starts to disintegrate all of the cartilage and bones, and you just get a really much more nutritious broth. Yeah, you can come learn. You want to come learn? Yeah.
She wants you to actually
hurry, because I'm almost done. So right here, this is called like the oyster of the chicken, and a lot of people end up cutting through here, but you want to get around that, so because you want to get all that, because it's one of the, see, you want to get as much of that meat as you can. Because see that? See? Gotta be really careful when you're cutting up a chicken. If you look in there, you can see and cut through the ribs. There's some background noise. That's the stove. I would turn it off if I could, but I can't because it's got dinner in it. I am making a roast beef for tonight. I wanted to start a dinner so that I didn't have to worry about making dinner while I'm doing all of this. Anyways, I've got some chicken diced up here. This is the chicken thighs and the chicken breasts, and I've diced them up. I cut them up pretty small because I want them to be easy for the littler children to eat. Here I have the chicken skins, I have the wings, I have the drumsticks. Now I'm just going to use these for a lunch sometime. Getting all the meat off of the bone on these would be far too tedious of a task, so I'm just going to save those up. I have saved the chicken bones from the breast and the thighs in here. I've also got the wing tips in here, and I'm going to save this for the next time that I go to make chicken broth, and I will just keep collecting chicken broth ingredients for the next big batch of broth I make. I will keep adding to this bag. So every time I go debone a chicken, I will keep adding to this, and I'll probably get a few bags together before I go to make chicken broth again. And I probably won't make chicken broth again until it turns cold out. Some of you might be wondering, why am I making chicken soup when I can just go buy it from the store, right? Like, I've got 6 kids, I homeschool, who's got time for stuff like this, right? Well, part of the reason I am doing this is because I want to have a far more nutritious broth on hand and chicken soup on hand than I would have if I had bought all the ingredients from the store. This is mainly gonna be the chicken soup for when we're sick. And again, I just want it to be super packed with nutrition, and you can't really buy anything from the store that is going to be as nutritious as what I am planning to make today. Over here, we're washing up some carrots. These are from the garden. This is half of our carrot harvest. I know it's bad, isn't it? We have a lot of work to do on the soil in our garden, clearly, but most of the work is definitely going to be in finding a water solution so that we can get our garden the water it needs in order to, grow good vegetables. I'm excited to put these in a soup because, you know, the first few days after you harvest a vegetable, those are the most nutritious. I mean, this is packed with nutrition right now, and I'm excited to preserve that into a soup and kind of trap it into these soup jars for when we're not feeling well. I have another huge batch of parsley. I was really surprised that the plant made this much more after my last big harvest. And over here I've got celery, and this is going to go in the soup. Same thing goes for the celery. The celery is packed with nutrition because I just harvested it from the garden, and I mean within the hour. And so this is going to be super nutritious as well, full of the vitamins and minerals. I haven't lost anything yet. Same thing with the carrots. This is going to go right into the soup, and of course this fresh celery is going to completely make this soup. The only trick is with the celery is I'm going to have to mince it up super fine, because if there are little bits of celery in here, it's green, and the kids, the littler kids, well, you know they're not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole. I don't like celery either. I don't like celery if it's got the hairs in it. I mean, it really tastes like eating water with hair, but I like the flavor of celery. This celery I feel like is really good because it's so young and tender that, you know, I don't feel like it's got a lot of hairs, but I am going to mince this up because, again, I don't really want the kids to find it. I'm just going to go right on ahead and put this celery into the soup broth that I have. It's nice and golden. I'm also going to put some of this fresh parsley in the soup. I'm going to take out some of the stems. Oh, you guys, it's so fragrant. I do have the chicken broth on behind me. So you guys, I'm going to be using the Ball Blue canning book. But I will tell you, if you go to your local extension office, a lot of times they have recipes and updated information on how to can. So it's always a really good idea to hit your local extension office because, again, they have some of the most current science and data to help keep you and your family safe when you are using things like the pressure cooker and canning things like meat that can be very dangerous if cooked and handled improperly. I will tell you though, you can always just buy the most current rendition of the Ball Blue canning book. See, mine here is a little older, so there's a couple ways I can go about this. One is I will look up the recipes in here, but then I'm going to have to adjust it for altitude. You can go to some local extension offices have websites as well, so you can always look things up on that too. But it's a good idea to make sure you are canning the latest science. I know that you always hear, well, my grandmother did it this way, my mother did it this way, and they're alive and they're fine. You never want to be one of those cases where things weren't fine. So that's why I recommend always just looking at what the local extension office has, because sometimes they have some really exciting new information. I have gone before and things were different than they were at the time a certain canning book was produced. So I did find the recipe for chicken soup in here, but I am going to look it up online just to make sure that this is still current, that the process and time is still current. I was going to do raw pack, you guys. I really wanted to do raw pack, but I can't find any recipes for raw pack chicken soup, so I'm going to do this the regular way. I did look it up on the United States Department of Agriculture website. The recipe that they had was pretty much the same as it was in the blue ball cookbook that I have. So I'm just going to follow the recipe. When I was making my broth, I used sage from our garden outside, as well as some garlic from our garden. I want to take a second to show you guys this little cookbook, but it's also a gardening book. I got this for my kids. It's a kid's guide to planting, growing, and preparing food, garden to table. We found this at the library and we liked it so much that we had to buy one. So in this book, it's got all kinds of wonderful recipes, but it also has tips on how to grow the food for children, and the point of it is to get children to eat more vegetables, of course. So this book actually talks about why carrots might be hairy. So you might have noticed that some of these carrots are hairy, not watering properly. It says not watering properly can make carrots split or grow hairy roots, and we definitely have some very hairy roots in here. So again, another sign that our garden just did not get enough water this year. What I'm doing, you guys, is I'm going through and I'm getting some of the bigger ones. I'm not gonna fuss too much with very many little ones. These little ones taste really good. I know it's really pathetic, isn't it? Worked all year for our garden for this. We did get some big ones too. But these are gonna be really fun for the smaller children to eat. My 4-year-old and my 7-year-old are gonna think these are just the cat's meow. As I'm going through these, you guys, I noticed that I don't really have any that have been eaten by insects. So a lot of times when I would grow carrots in years past, they would get cutworms that would come in and really destroy a lot of the carrot and make most of the carrot inedible. And I learned a long time ago that diatomaceous earth is your best friend when you're growing carrots to keep the cutworms away. So you want to put the diatomaceous earth on as your carrots are starting to, while they're still very small, and then you want to hit it again every like 2 weeks to a month with your diatomaceous earth, and you won't have a cutworm problem. So I probably only hit these maybe 3 times with diatomaceous earth, and there's no cutworms that I can see that have started attacking these carrots, so that is nice. There are 2 ways I could go about this with the carrots. One way is I could leave these large enough that the kids could pick them out that don't want them, or I could grate them. I've chosen to grate them because once these are cooked, I feel like they're just going to melt into the soup and the kids won't even know they're eating carrots, hopefully. You guys, I tried to grow onions this year. They didn't do a thing. We are getting our soil tested in our garden this year to figure out why we did not get certain things like onions. I believe the soil is acid in some areas and alkaline in others based on some of the home tests I've done, but we're going to find out for sure. The peppers and the tomatoes did quite well, which would allude to it being, you know, a more acidic soil. Again, these are getting grated so that nobody will know they're there. The recipe tells me to boil this for 30 minutes. So we're just gonna let this sit now. For extra immunity, I added some chaga mushroom powder and some turmeric. I didn't think that these would affect the taste. I felt like these would add to the taste and give it more of a hearty taste and more flavor, just more layers of flavor. But this is going to be something that will help also be good for immunity. While I'm waiting for that chicken soup to boil and simmer for 30 minutes, I am going to wash up some potatoes for the roast beef that I have in the oven. I can see that my daughter, when she was helping me, she forgot that the carrot tops go to the chickens. And then somebody else put it was probably me, put the potato peels and the potato scraps on top. Chickens cannot have raw potatoes. It's poison to them. So I need to get these out of there so I can give all those lovely carrot tops to the chickens, because that's going to be really nutritious for the chickens and I don't want them to miss out on it. Who put a carrot in there? These jars have been sterilized. Right now I just need to get them super hot, so I'm filling them with hot water. You don't want to put hot soup into cold jars because it could crack the jar. Your instructions and recipes book should come with instructions as well, safety instructions. Mine came with instructions on canning meat, and it tells me that I need to increase the pounds of pressure from 10 to 12. So you always want to check that in your book or, you know, with your local extension office.